But, yeah, so they take him in, and, Robbie and Wyatt start becoming friends. And while they're there, creepy stuff starts happening in the house. Stuff starts moving around without people actually touching it. There's the aforementioned thing they saw with the Connect with the body moving around that's not there. And so they decide to start recording a bunch of footage of what's going on in the house. And they set up a hidden camera in the living room, which of course is always on night vision, so you always have the dots all over the place, which gets old pretty quick. And also they hack into every single MacBook in the house, so they can always, stream footage of that and record it onto a server somewhere, or just upload it into iCloud. I don't know what they do with it, but, that's how they do it. So it's another method of like getting the security footage like they did with Paranormal Activity 2, except a bit dumber, because the odds of people leaving their MacBooks on and leaving the webcams running 24/7 throughout all rooms in the house without anybody noticing that something is up doesn't quite seem right. And there's also this really weird thing that the girl mentions that goes absolutely nowhere. Like right at the beginning, she and Pervy McCreeperson are talking about their parents and how they don't seem to be getting along very well, and like wondering if they might end up getting a divorce, which could actually work with the story. It could show, like, with all the weird things happening in the house, the kids are noticing it, they're getting freaked out by it, but the parents are too busy bickering and arguing with each other to care. But they never actually do that. There is one scene where they have not even an argument, they have a tiff. A minor tiff about nothing in particular, which is just the wife saying 3 lines sounding kind of naggy, and the husband just going, blah, 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 blah. And that's it. They go nowhere with it. If you're going to mention that, do something with it, because there's something you can do with it that would work in this movie. Do something. And eventually, Robbie starts, talking about his imaginary friend. And, Wyatt gets very curious about this imaginary friend. And Robbie says, "You want to learn how to talk to him? I can show you." And he does, and then the demon kind of starts taking possession of Wyatt. And eventually, Robbie's mom comes home, and surprise, surprise, it's Katie. And which had the audience in my theater freaking the fuck out, and I don't know why, because A, you had to have seen this coming, and B, this is not even one of the scary bits. Like, they were freaking out at the slightest things. Like, the girl's in her bedroom, and there's, Wyatt walking past the door in the background. Oh, but he's just walking down the hall. That's not the scary part yet! Calm the fuck down! Ugh. Yeah, people in my theater were annoying. But anyway. Eventually they, send Robbie back home with his mother, but, strange things are still happening in the house. Whether Robbie is over there chatting it up with Wyatt or not. And Wyatt himself starts waking up in the middle of the night and wandering around, and eventually walking into the living room and talking with whatever this imaginary friend is, which he apparently does by walking into the living room and talking to him through the TV. There's a metaphor in there somewhere, I'm sure. Kids, this is why too much TV is bad for you. It puts strain on your eyes, and you might have Congress with the beast. Anyway, I should probably put a warning right here. From here on out, it's going to be heavy spoilers. So if you don't want any more heavy spoilers, stop watching now. Go do something else. You good? You still want to stay here? Okay. Don't say I didn't warn you. So here's what we find out. Eventually we do find out that, like Robbie, Wyatt is adopted. And here's where the movie really lost me. There's a point where Wyatt is talking to the demon inside the TV or inside the Xbox or whatever it is. The demonic spirit of Steve Ballmer, I don't know. And he starts saying, no, that's not my name. No. No, my name's not Hunter. I'm like, what? Yeah, Wyatt is actually Hunter. I'm not even going to try to make sense out of that. Because the people who made this movie didn't, so why should I? Yeah, so apparently at some point after Katie, killed off her family and kidnapped Hunter, she gave him up for adoption without getting caught by the authorities somehow. And then she adopted another kid somehow. And then bought a house across the street from the family that adopted Hunter somehow. I get the feeling there's an entire movie here that we missed. Like there's a big chunk of story that is missing here. What the fuck happened? Yet none of this makes any goddamn sense. This just raises more questions than it answers. And, and it's, I assume just because of sequel baiting, but I think it's more because they don't have any answers to these questions. They just, totally pulled this out of their ass without knowing really what to do with it. So, yeah, apparently this kid is Hunter. Okay. And so, eventually, at some point, the paranormal activity finally starts to escalate, and stuff happens apart from either the false jump scares or just doors opening and closing and chairs moving. And it's kind of hard to get scared at all that stuff when the kids think it's awesome. I mean, there's even a scene where the little boy is riding his bike around in the kitchen, and then suddenly a chair moves out in front of him and stops him. He's like, oh, that was so cool. And then he keeps riding off. It's like, yeah, the people in the movie don't find it scary. The audience won't either. Doesn't work. But, another moment. There's a point where the mom is fixing dinner with this really sharp knife, and she keeps watching this Food Network video on her MacBook while chopping, oddly enough. It's like there are so many points where she should have lost a fingertip because she wasn't looking at what the fuck she was doing while she was chopping. It's like there's a line I remember from a British sitcom called Chef. If you haven't seen it, there was one of the episodes where this chef at this restaurant was getting interviewed by a magazine or tabloid reporter or something. She was asking him, could you just be chopping and looking up at the camera and smiling? He's like, no, see, when I'm chopping, I look at what I'm doing. That's how I managed to reach the age of 34 with a full set of fingers. Yeah, this mom should not have a full set of fingers. And there's a point where the mom gets distracted by the daughter and she turns away, and then the knife just goes whoop. And then she turns around like, the hell did I put the knife? This could have worked really well. But again, this is another good idea, poor execution. Because for one thing, in the very next scene, the family's sitting down eating dinner, and they hear some strange noises coming from upstairs, and the daughter looks up, what? And she looks right at where the knife should be. And the knife doesn't move because later in the movie it comes down in the exact same spot. So it didn't move. It should have still been there. And yet, despite looking right at it, she somehow missed it. Huh? And, if they had kept it up there and not had someone just look at it and somehow miss it, despite it obviously being in plain sight, it could have worked. But they kind of wasted it. I mean, basically what happens is later on there's a scene where the father, looks at the MacBook and just kind of is like, oh, why is this on? And he shuts it off because no one leaves all their computers in the house running 24/7. That if they're notebooks, they close them, of course. That's what you do with a notebook. But then it suddenly wakes up again and he goes to stare at it, and then he's like, oh, screw it. And he starts walking away, and then the knife drops. Like, not even coming close to hitting him. Like, really, a better move would have been to save that for the very end and use that to actually off someone. Like, when the parents are finally realizing that some freaky shit is going on in the house, and they're scared out of their minds, and they're just like, Just have like the mom or the dad. It's like, honey, is that you? And then have the knife come down, like right through their fucking head. That would have been awesome. That would have been so awesome, and they wasted it. Yeah, but anyway, at some point, I guess the demon and Katie have decided they've had enough, and she comes back to reclaim the child that she gave up for some unexplainable reason, and now she wants him back for some unexplainable reason, and so she goes through the process of killing off everyone in the house, and she somehow gets into the house without opening any doors and manages to move around, and I guess she can fucking teleport now. It certainly seems like it. Like, she's not sneaking, she's just teleporting. And she starts killing off every one of the people in the house one by one. She kills off the mom, she kills off Creepy McPerverson, Pervy McCreeperson, whatever. I got that backwards. And, at some point the daughter realizes this, and she finds Pervy McCreeperson in her closet. And while this is going on, the father sees Katie and Hunter walking over into her house, and without thinking, okay, something is not right here, maybe I should, call the police. Nope, he just wanders off over there on his own. And the daughter finds, a couple of dead bodies in her house. Doesn't occur to her to call the police either. She wanders over to Katie's house. And, of course, all she finds is her dad being dragged along by some invisible force. And eventually he just rounds a corner and fucking disappears. And there's nowhere he could disappear to. There's 2 rooms. There's a bathroom. She looks in there. Nope, he's not in there. And then there's a bedroom. So apparently everyone in this movie can teleport. And, then she's cornered by Katie, and she does, the demon face. And she dives through a window, all while somehow very carefully holding her iPhone and making sure to film all of this, which, at that point, I would just be dropping the iPhone and running for dear life. And then she walks in the backyard and finds about 200 more witches. How they cram them all into this backyard without anybody noticing. You think if you have that many people having a party, someone would have noticed, all doing the demon face. And then, they all jump her, and that's where the movie ends. Not a very good way to end it. And yeah, so that's Paranormal Activity 4. And I really don't know where they're going to go with this. They're already going to do Paranormal Activity 5, and it's probably too late to reconsider that, but, regardless of what happens, they are definitely running out of steam at this point. And this is coming from a fan of the series. I am telling you, they are running out of steam, and they need to pack it in. I'm sure it's too late to call it quits on number 5, but, whatever happens in number 5, just drop it at that point, because, you're probably already going to get a reduced audience, because this is not doing that well with critics or moviegoers from what I've seen. It's, out of all 4 movies, it's hands down the lowest rated on Rotten Tomatoes. And it's just, it's a major step backward, and any steam they had is gone. They need to pack it in after this. No more. So, that's about it. I will catch you later.